What's up, guys? The name's Rena Dragnella, and welcome back to Seduce Me the Otome. So last we left off, we started off with James, and we got to enjoy a dish of his and everything. And now we're getting ready for the party again. So now let's continue. I could practically feel my dad's aura around from behind the door. Sam and Eric quickly rushed to the door and opened the double doors wide to reveal my parents, both dressed in their best. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad.
Oh my, I didn't know your bequeathment came with servants.
It was probably overlooked. Besides, who would deny good service?
I was completely shocked. My parents didn't question the boys. They didn't ask for verification or anything. I looked at the boys and noticed Sam and Eric staring intently at my parents. Were they using their powers on them? They had to be. There was no way they'd be okay with this otherwise.
I guess the servants counted as belongings to the house.
My mother quickly rushed to me and gave me a large hug. I hugged her back, inhaling her perfume. It had only been a couple days, but living away from the ones who raised me was hard. My mother soon let me go and looked at my outfit.
Gorgeous. You look so lovely. David, look at your daughter and tell her I'm right.
I looked to my dad, who was looking around the lobby like an inspector. I stood my ground, waiting for him to look at me. When he did, he let a small smile grace his lips.
Your mother's right. You look like you're all grown up.
The world around me stopped as my heart pounded hard in my chest. Why can I not read today? Did my dad just compliment me on his own accord? My mother was grinning ear to ear at his words. I was beyond speechless. Thank you, Daddy. However, his cold face quickly returned as he began to look around once again.
I assume that you're ready, then, to impress the rest of the guests, correct?
What do you mean?
The entire board from Anderson Toys is coming tonight. Even the vice chairman's son will be coming. All of them will be measuring your potential.
My potential?
To become CEO of the company.
I knew it. Something was off about tonight, and now this party had become much more than I anticipated. I gulped silently, but I nodded in response. I looked to the incubi, but they were continuing to be servants for my father's approval. I looked behind me and saw Naomi and Suzu raise their thumbs at me for encouragement. I let out a small breath before feeling my body accept the situation. I felt a weight in my gut, but I had to hide it. As if time zoomed forward, all of a sudden, the main hall of the lobby was full of guests. Men and women in formal or business attire showed up to meet me and see my new home. I didn't expect many to come, but I was once again surprised that night. I shook hands with many officials and executive members, putting on the professional face my dad trained me to have. I felt overwhelmed, but I hid it well behind a small smile and handshake. Many even asked me questions. I tried my best to reply as maturely as possible. I had to remember, say what they want to hear, not what you want to say. These questions are timed, so I will be going fast.
So, how do you feel living on your own at such a young age?
Doing my best.
I'm so sorry about your grandfather passing away. It really hit all of us hard.
Thank you for your condolences.
Do you have college plans?
Yes, I do. I feel like the questions came up one after I felt like the questions came up one after another. It was tough to answer some of them because they weren't about me, they were about the company.
What do you think will happen with the company now that your grandfather has passed?
It will get back on track soon.
What do you think of the philanthropic policy the company has?
It's great.
Do you think the company should expand from just toys?
It's a possibility. Eventually the questions stopped and I was back to being by myself. Naomi and Suzu were mingling in the crowds and the incubi were doing their jobs, so I was all alone in a room full of strangers. It was unnerving to think about, but at least I wasn't being questioned left and right anymore. Suddenly though, my mom pushed her way through the crowd to me, bringing someone I didn't know.
Honey, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This kind gentleman is the son of the vice chairman.
Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Lewis. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Anderson.
Simply not to him because I don't want to place my hand in his and he does something awkward. Andrew is slightly taken aback but gently smiled and lowered his hand. Mother wants to hook us up with Andrew, but I have my eyes on James. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for trying. I'm going to be nice and say thank you.
You're welcome. Praise is very much deserved.
Skipping all this content, Dad tries to interrogate him and he left, but I'm going to stay put. Skip all of that. mother left my dad and me to slowly escort the guests out. My dad held his simple smile as he thanked each person for coming. I did the same. Andrew quickly passed the doors before I could speak. Eventually, only Suzu, Naomi, and my parents and the incubi were left. My dad suddenly walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder with a smile. I stared up at him, a wave of confusion washed over my face. What?
You did good tonight. I'm proud.
Oh, thank you, Dad.
Keep it up, and you'll be a good CEO.
Oh, right.
All right. Your mother and I have to leave. I'm sure Naomi and Suzu need to leave as well. Just because it's Saturday doesn't mean you should stay up all night.
Oh, right.
Thanks for having us. It was a great party.
We'll come visit tomorrow or something. All right?
Right. See ya.
Good night, sweetie. Come visit us soon.
Will do. All 4 of my remaining guests left the building, all but my dad, waving back to me. With the last of the guests gone, I sighed and sat on the staircase exhausted. Phew, that was tiring.
It's not like you had to do any work, though.
Shut up, Sam.
Give her a break, man. She was getting interrogated left and right.
She handled herself the best she could.
As expected, Princess.
Since you're exhausted, why not head to bed? We can clean up.
Once again, shut up, Sam.
Hush, Sam.
Are you guys sure?
Positive. It shouldn't take long.
Ho ho ho! It didn't take long to find you little shits after all.
Felt a hot shudder run down my spine. The voice from my dreams echoed through the air into my ears. I looked around, panicked along the incubi. James placed a hand on my shoulder, trying to remain calm.
Don't worry. No one will hurt you.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
All of us shot our heads towards the door, finally pinning down the direction of the voice. The door quickly swung open, revealing a sight I would never expected to see. Skin red as blood, eyes black and gold piercing into mine, roughened up clothes, and a pistol in his hand. I saw Mom, Malix, and Eris. I covered my mouth to not scream at the sight. Dried blood covered the bandana around his neck as he smirked at me and the boys around me. Beside the red-skinned man was a similar-looking woman in matching thug-like clothes.
Oh, what's the matter, boys? You really didn't think I wouldn't find you, did you?
I hoped you would, you piece of...
All of a sudden, the man raised his gun at Sam's face and instantly pulled the trigger. We all gasped in shock, instinctively expecting to see a bullet run through Sam's face, but...
What the fuck?
What?
What should have been a headshot ended with a loud but empty blank shot. The pistol echoed its empty shots as the man grew more and more pissed, pulling the trigger over and over in aggravation. Luckily for my ears, it became quieter after his first shot.
Why the fuck won't you work?
This place is protected.
What did you say, Shrimp?
This place has a seal, protecting it from hellborn magic.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Ah!
The man growled and threw his gun at Sam, who was able to dodge it in time. The pistol bounced off the ground a couple of times before sliding further away, hitting the wall in a final stop. As it stopped moving, the gun faded into black flame that disappeared into the air.
The previous owner had this place protected by magic, Malix.
Malix, that was his name. His existence resonated in my memory from the dream I had. However, I looked to Matthew in the same confusion as Malix did. This place is protected by magic?
It would seem that your grandfather had some sort of protective barrier around this house. From the looks of it, it only disables hellborn magic.
Malix's face grew to that of extreme anger, his fist tightening as if he were crushing a stress ball.
Then what's stopping me from dragging your asses out and shooting you then?
Out of pure instinct, I stepped forward and placed myself between Malix and the boys with no power. Malix wasn't going to fight. I took that chance to stand up to him instead of being powerless like I was in the dream. Fuck off, Malix! Malix suddenly laughed wildly, staring at me in disbelief.
Whoa! Who let the bitch out of her cage? What is this? A reverse harem or something?
Malix grinned at me evilly, walking close to me. Doc! I ducked underneath Malix's incoming hand. I stared at his hand and his black flame tattoo in surprise as I took a couple steps back from Malix. Matthew and Damien stepped in front of me, guarding me from Malix with their arms. I apologize for reading so fast, but I just want to get this over with, kind of, because I've been through this a lot of times actually already.
A quick one. I'm liking you more and more.
Back off, Malix!
Don't start acting tough, you pathetic excuse of a demon. You need more protection than her.
Shut up!
Oh, did I make little Matthew cry? Why don't you just grow a pair?
Let me remind you, Malix, that Matthew taught a lesson in his route. So yeah, don't mess.
Enough, Malix.
The woman who had been standing in silence the whole time planted a firm hand on Malix's shoulder. Malix looked back at her with a growl and a glare that could kill.
Since when did you get the guts to speak out of place?
We both know you've never controlled me. I want them dead just like you do. But now's not the time.
Fuck off! I know what I'm doing.
Do you? Even if you did fight them, there's 5 against 2. We never win.
Shut up!
Let's go, Malix! We're wasting our time!
The two growled at each other. If they could have used their magic, I could sense that fire would glow from under their teeth. Malix grunted and glared at the boys. He pointed at James, wanting so badly to use his fingers like a knife.
Just wait, pretty boys. We'll get you and fuck you up real good.
Then Malix turned to me, moving his finger to point directly between my eyes.
And don't think you're safe. Step outside. I dare you.
With that, Malix and the woman walked out of the mansion. The doors closed behind them, leaving the boys and I alone once again. I felt my knees give out from under me, forcing the boys to quickly turn to catch me.
Whoa! Are you alright?
Yeah, while I was here, I'm skipping all of this dialogue and going to bed. Just basically explain the difference between a devil and a demon and blah blah blah. If you want to know about that, go watch my demon route. Okay, that's it. Where's my life going anyway? I was under pressure from my parents with only my friends and the boys to comfort me. Without the boys, I'd have no way to hide from my responsibilities. Enough, let's just sleep and deal with tomorrow when it comes. Defeating my sense of thought, I forced myself to sleep, unsure of what tomorrow had planned for me. Hopefully, whatever the future had for me, I would be ready for it.
I promise to be with you forever. You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you.
Please, let me love you.
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
I want to be with you.
I love you.
I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to go back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace across from my bed. A sigh escaped from between my lips before I threw my legs over to the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? We're going to do something different and explore the house. I decided it was a good idea to wander around the house. I never really explored it much as a child, so there were bound to be new surprises. Well, come on, feet. Let's go on an adventure. I stood and exited my room, hoping that the boys were still asleep. I began to wander the halls on my end of the house, opening each door to find what room each door led to. Quickly, I found an old office. A desk and chair sat by the far side as a large bookshelf of documents and memorabilia donned its nooks and crannies. There were a couple pictures of me growing up and peeking from the shelf as I walked further into the room. I don't believe I've been in here before. I tried to recall memories of ever seeing this room, coming up with nothing as a result. This room was new to me. Did I want to disturb the furniture? I'm curious. I gently opened the shelves and any drawers I saw in the room. In a couple of them were books and even sewing kits. I assumed they were used for my grandfather's toys, so I left them alone. One drawer, however, was locked, no matter how many times I pulled. Grrr, come on, open! Nothing. It would not bulge. It would not budge. The drawer beside it, though, did revealing a laptop. Why is there a laptop in a drawer? I lifted it from the drawer and carried it over to the desk and chair, opening it. It was a high-tech laptop with a retina scanner as a pass lock. I was not sure whether or not to try it, to unlock it or not. Try. I decided to try. I turned on the computer and leaned my face near the retina scanner, lining the camera up with my eye. To my surprise, I heard a ping come from the computer before the screen opened to a desktop. Huh, look at that. On the desktop were documents and folders labeled with different aspects of the Anderson Company: taxes, profits, bylaws, products. The list went on and on. If I really did want to become the CEO of the Anderson Toys Company, I had everything about it at my fingertips. Dad would sure be impressed. One icon, however, stood out from the rest. Farrago? I double-clicked the icon, but no window came up. Instead, I heard a large click come from the drawer that was locked. What the? I slowly left my seat and walked over to the drawer, attempting to open it again. It slid open smoothly in the direction of my pulling hand, revealing 2 books. One was a plain black journal with a tie to keep it closed. The other was bound in leather with cryptic symbols all over the cover. I took out the cover and skimmed through it, seeing my grandfather's notes. They were all detailed explanations and opinions on his findings on demon magic. He really did know about magic. I sat down at the desk and read through the journal further, finding drawings and sketches of symbols and magic circles, each with their own different meanings and effects. It was all fascinating. There was even a page of important spells to know. I read through them, trying to memorize them into my mind. I don't know what came over me, but I started to feel more energetic and more powerful simply reading my grandfather's notes. I was suddenly aware of the energy that surrounded my body and the power that was around the house. The more I read, the more powerful I became. However, my mind suddenly froze and I found myself walking back to the drawer, putting the book back and closing the drawer. The lock reset and I snapped out of it. Huh? What? I shook my head and looked at the drawer, realizing what I had done. I walked over to the desk to reopen the lock, but suddenly felt the need to stop. Something held me back and didn't want me to pry any more than I already had. I was curious beyond belief, but I obeyed my thoughts for now. Eventually I would come back and look into it. I returned to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under covers to try sleeping again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes, back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It was noon, yet it felt like I had slept for much longer. Why is time going so slowly? I sighed, got changed into normal clothes, and went out to the main hall, sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went out to the backyard in response to the noise I had heard. In the yard were all 5 of the boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle with the other 4 surrounding and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest, blocked and dodged, each almost masterfully. Don't disturb them. I just watched. The boys were very much in their own world, focusing on the training they were in. It was better not to disturb them. We're gonna make lunch, skip, and we decide to do simple chicken and rice because it's James, and they need protein, and yeah. Gotta keep their energy and strength with protein. I took my time to make almost perfect chicken breast alongside some rice. Cooking wasn't hard unless you didn't know what you were doing in the first place. I placed the food in the dining room, however. None of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried the dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular, the other wanted me to leave them be and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Finally, goodbye, quickly rushed and grabbed the second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. I found James in the library, sitting in one of the comfy leather seats reading a book. As I stepped in, James looked up at me before closing the book and standing.
Oh, hello.
Hey James, I got some lunch for you.
That is very kind of you.
James took his food and sat back down, placing the book he was reading on the table in front of him and setting the dish on his lap.
I'm sorry. I should have asked you first before exploring the house and finding this room.
Oh my god, I made the wrong noise. Whoops! Huh? Oh, no, you're fine. Remember, you live here too, so any room besides mine is free to be in.
Still, you're the master of the house. I should have asked.
Such a gentleman. It's fine, really. James nodded at me with an understanding smile before eating his food. I followed along and ate with him, taking the open chair beside his. We ate in silence, listening to the ambience in the room. Soon, however, I began to feel a little restless. Check out the book. I put my food down on the table and lifted the book to examine it. Love and Romance, a study of intimacy. James let out a small nervous cough before he stopped eating and placed his food on the table.
Demons and humans are very different when it comes to affairs of the heart. I merely wanted to try learning a little more while I had the chance. I found that while I was looking around the room and had only just begun reading.
You gotta keep this book in mind because it will be very important for, well, I'll tell you when, but just keep the book in mind. Love is different to demons? How so? James smiled before crossing his legs, getting comfy for the small lecture he was about to give.
Love isn't just a human emotion, miss. Demons like us feel them too. In fact, incubi and succubi feel emotions the most because of our link to sexual energy. However, we don't really experience love. We know of lust and passion.
But passion drives love.
For humans, yes. For demons, it fuels our need to breed and increase the strength of our lineage as well as quells the hunger we have for sexual energy. It's very hard for us to develop feelings from passion, despite how easy it may logically seem.
You hunger for energy? I could tell I struck a nerve with James. As I mentioned the word hunger, his arm twitched, obviously wanting to do something other than remain on the armrest of his chair. He continued speaking regardless.
Sexual energy is our natural food source and is one of two ways to keep us alive. In the abyssal planes, there are many demons to feed off of who are always willing to give their energy up, so sexual hunger is never an issue. In the human world, however, we've come to realize that getting energy is a little more difficult.
Can't you just touch a human for their energy like you all did with me?
That only gives us so much. A touch is merely a taste, while intimate sex is a banquet for us.
I guess that was true. Humans weren't all about sex, and were probably a lot more conservative than demons, at least. It would be hard to gain sexual energy from a human without doing something to them or catching them in the right mood.
This is why we have a mind-altering ability to convince humans to give in to their desires. It's not 100% effective, but it gives us a better possibility to get what we need.
What if you don't feed on sexual energy? What's the other way to stay alive?
Food, typically. However, we're weak without actual sexual energy. Without sexual energy, we become less than human. We have no power nor moral consciousness. We basically start to become unfriendly.
I see. Are you hungry now? Of course I'm gonna ask him this question. Are you hungry now? Okay, I'm just gonna ask. Are you hungry now? James didn't reply. He simply stared at me, unable to answer. However, I could tell that he was. He was clutching the armrest tightly, digging his fingers into the leather. I gently leaned close to him from my chair and reached to brush my fingers over his hand. Oh, Jesus Christ. If you really need energy, I'll help a little. No sex, but enough to stop the hunger, okay? Once again, I was greeted with silence from James. He seemed very nervous and uncertain about what to do, now that the approval was there. He was also frozen from my touch, softly and barely twitching at the feel of my skin against his. I could feel his hand grip the armrest harder. A small feeling of boldness then ran through my body, forcing me to cover his hand completely with my own, before leaning nose to nose with James in seriousness. Oh, Jesus. Alter my mind if you're concerned about me. I really do want to help you out. All of a sudden, I felt something in my mind snap and ooze. In the warm, fluffy feeling I felt before with Sam and Eric. I felt my body slightly heat up as James released the armrest and gently took my wrist. He gently pulled me out of my chair and onto his lap, having me straddle him with my thighs. He stared deep into my eyes, his own glowing in hunger that I would have never expected to see from him. Warning for the sexual content, blah blah. Keep watching at your own risk.
I won't go overboard.
Before I knew it, his lips were pressed hard against mine, my head being pulled to his by his hand on the back of my neck. I gently moved my hand to his shoulders and chest, melting in his lap and enjoying every feeling that the kiss ran. Wow, I cannot read. What? Oh my God. I gently moved my hands to his shoulders and chest, melting in his lap and enjoying every feeling that ran through my body. I felt hot, desperate, and in need for more than just his kiss. One of my hands slid up his neck into his hair as James lowered his kisses to my neck, gently groaning against my skin. I couldn't help but let out a small whimper of pleasure before reaching up and covering my mouth. I didn't want the others to hear me, and I was positive neither did James. James lowered his free hand to my lower back, pulling my body against his. I felt my energy slowly draining, causing me to cuddle closer to James. Cuddle closer to James's hold on me. He lowered his hand to my waist, squeezing it tightly as his tongue ravished my neck. His hand was on the back of my neck, however. Oh my god, wow. His hand that was on the back of my neck, however, gently came around and held onto a tail of my bow. I sucked in a breath, but James didn't pull it to untie the bow. James lifted his lips from my neck and gently leaned his forehead to mine, rubbing nose to nose with me. He was gently breathing fast, softly red in the face, and as deep into the moment as I was.
I won't go any further if you don't want me to.
I could feel the hold of his mind-altering spell fade away, but I still felt hot. Something told me that I wanted more, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if I truly did want to give any more. Keep going, man! I opened the opportunity. I was enjoying it as much as he was. I wanted more, and I was going to let him keep going. He promised not to go far, but this wasn't far enough for me. I gently leaned in and kissed him, giving him silent approval to keep going. I could feel him pull on the tail of my bow, releasing it and letting it follow his hand off from around my neck. He moved the ribbon to the empty seat before gently unbuttoning the top half of my blouse. Not the top two buttons, the top half of my blouse, going no lower than above my stomach. The desire in my body drove me to move the sleeves of my shirt down my arms, escaping from it and letting the shirt hang around my belly. Wow, this is getting more intense than Damien and Matthew. Holy crap. As he began to ravish my neck and shoulder in hot kisses, I leaned my head back and let a pleasurable sigh escape my lips. The pull in my body from him draining my energy has slowed immensely, almost completely stopping. However, James kept touching and kissing me regardless. He was full, but he was as hot as I was and kept loving on my skin and on me. I couldn't even comprehend how much time we spent making out. I was lost in the pleasure that I didn't care. Call it sinful, but I didn't care. I loved it. His touch, his kiss, his heat. I desired it beyond anything at that moment, even as he lowered his kisses down my chest to just above my bra. My heart was beating wildly in my chest. Something about James drew me to like him like a moth to a flame. I didn't know if it was his aura of superiority or his gentle smile, but something made my heart quicken for him. It couldn't have been love, but it was too passionate to be lost. What was it? However, I began to feel dizzy, seeing the ceiling start to spin almost wildly. I gripped onto James's shoulders, trying to signal him to stop, but my mind faded to black before I could let out another sound. I felt good. I didn't care that I was blacked out. I felt warm and fuzzy in the darkness. I never knew indulging in like that kind of passion would be that good. I now just waited to awaken, hopefully in a good way. My eyes eventually fluttered open, adjusting to the side around me. I felt familiar silks underneath me, letting me know that I was in my bed. I slowly sat up, stretching from the tiredness that still lingered. I felt a very soft pain on my neck and shoulders and I could feel my swollen lips pulse gently in healing. However, when I looked down at my body, I saw that my shirt had been pulled back up and rebuttoned as if nothing had happened between me and James. I was just missing my ribbon. Before I turned to get out of bed, though, I spotted my ribbon on the pillow beside the one I slept on. It was tied in a nice bow around a red rose that was freshly bloomed, with a small note attached to it. I gently slipped the note from the tie and opened it to read it. I expected the rose to come out of Eric, not James, but okay.
I apologize for indulging myself as I did. I hope that you will not dislike me when you awaken.
Of course not! I was the one that made this happen. I stared at the note, unbelieving what I read. Why would I dislike him? I let it happen and I enjoyed it. It was cute though to imagine him asking for forgiveness for something that we both did and enjoyed. I brought the rose to my nose and gently inhaled its soft fragrance. I indulged myself too, James. I looked at the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:31 p.m. Yikes, 4 hours of being knocked out and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep longer if I wanted to. And that's the end of this episode. I do want to give you guys a little notice. I'm not sure if I'm gonna upload sooner or later. So this is the weekend and my parents are home and such. I also have family coming. So, well, they're here right now, I mean, but not physically here, but they're gonna be visiting for a few days, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to record when the weekday starts, but I'm just letting you know in advance that if you don't hear me during some part of the week, then know that I'm a little busy. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of my videos, then subscribe to me. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!